This video is about the branch operator. This operator lets you take a decision within a process, much like an if-then-else statement. This can be very useful if you have to perform slightly different processing in your process based on some condition or event. We'll look at the condition type and condition value parameters, and there are some other parameters as well we'll briefly mention. So I have a process. The branch operator is here. It takes as input a condition, which I have created from this generate macro operator, and it takes as many inputs as you like, 0 upwards, and I've created one input which is an example set. It's in fact the iris dataset. The second example is the sonar dataset, and the output is an example set of some description. We'll look inside this in a moment. The generate macro, it creates a macro called coin, and it sets it to heads or tails depending on a random number between, well, obviously 0 and 1. And I've arranged it so that the process will generate a new random number each time because the seed will change each time. So this will genuinely be a pseudo-random sequence of heads and tails. So that gets passed, that condition gets passed to the branch operator, and you can choose a condition type, and I've chosen expression, and I've said if this is true, then when we look inside the branch operator we'll see one part of the subprocess will execute when this condition is true, and there's another part when it's false. So notice the syntax, it's sent open squiggly bracket coin, close squiggly bracket, that's a macro coin. It's in quotes because I want it to be a string, and I'm comparing it using double equals to another string. So that's saying if the macro coin is equal to heads, then this expression is true. And I could choose others. I typically don't use any. I sometimes use attribute value filter, in which case you put in attribute equals something there. So instead of that macro expression, you'd put attribute name. Anyway, for now I'm going to use the expression here. And while we're here, I'll just briefly touch on return inner output. I have to say it doesn't seem to make much difference, so I'll just leave it as it is. If I was running a multi-CPU system, I could actually parallelize then and else's, so by selecting those. I'm not going to touch those for now. Okay, so just a minor recap then. So we're at the point where we're taking a decision based on the value of the macro called coin, and we're going to go heads or tails. If it's heads, we'll do one thing, and if it's tails, we'll do another. Let's look inside the branch operator now. So it's got two parts, the true part, false, an else part, a then else part rather. So this part will go off if it's heads, and I've included a print to console operator where I put the value heads. If in contrast it's not that, I'm going to say tails. Notice a subtle point, I'm wiring up the input to the output differently in the two cases. So in the heads case, I'm wiring up the iris dataset, and in the tails case, I'm wiring up the sonar dataset, which is a different shaped example set. So what this will do is it will actually print something to the console in the log here, and it will output a different example set depending on the value of the macro. So let's run that. So sure enough, this is a different view. Heads, iris, which is what this is. And you can see there's the value of the macro coin, has the value heads. Run it again. Tails. There's the console log. There's the macro, and this is now a different example set. Heads again. Tails. Anyway, it's not fixed. Hopefully it'll be heads. Two heads in a row. It's not fixed. Hooray. Okay. So anyway, it's a very simple operator, but you can find it very useful under certain circumstances to take decisions. And of course, because these are sub-processes, you can do an awfully large number of things here. You can, for example, connect the example sets to the condition here rather than have a condition from a macro. There's not enough time to do all the ins and outs, and anyway it's very flexible, so you just have to learn the basics and then stick at it, and you can then just about create anything you want. Okay, so I'll run it one more time. I'll just put this expression coin is heads, just show you the other possible ones here. Macro defined file existence on, and I'll run it. I'll look inside. There's the then, there's the else statement. Notice the wiring. Run it one more time. Tails. Tails again. Yay, heads. Okay, there we go.